Hello, welcome to Benjamin Tree. Today we're going to be talking about two functions, integer and modulo. So first, before we look at these functions, let's take a look at dividing these numbers. We're going to divide numbers in column A here by the number 4 here in column B. So when we do that, it's a very simple formula. We say equals A2 divided by B2, and we get the result of 0.25. Again, for the next cell in column C, we say equals A3 divided by B3, and we get the answer of 0.5. So we can take this and we can just drag it down and we can see the numbers here. So right now we have a number with a decimal. But maybe sometimes you don't want to have these decimals here, that you want to have the whole number plus the remainder. So we're going to be looking at how to do that. So what we're going to do first is just figure out how can we get the whole number from these divisions. So that is going to be integer, which is going to be a whole number. But when we use the integer function in Excel, it's going to round down. So even if you're at 4.99, it's going to round you down to 4. So let's take a look how we do that. We're going to say equals integer, and we're going to say A2 divided by B2, and that's going to give us the result of 0, because the regular number A2 divided by B2 is 0.25, but we're going to, with the integer function, we're going to be rounding it down. So let's do that one more time. Equals INT A3 divided by B3. And when we do that, it's again still 0. So let's drag this on down here. And when we get here, we can see that these numbers are 0s, 1s, 2s, and 3s all rounded down. Now, what happens is when we say 1 divided by 4, we're going to have a remainder. We're going to have a remainder of 1. So let's put that in using the modulo. So what happens is modulo is going to take the number. We're going to take the we're going to put in mod. We're going to take the number of 1, and then we're going to divide it by the number 4. Okay, but instead of dividing that, we're just going to put a comma and we'll say what's the divisor, and that's going to be 4. So instead of giving us the answer 0.25, it says what is the remainder from that function. And so when we do that, we have a remainder of 1. So 1 divided by 4 gives us a remainder of 1, or 0.25. So again, when we do that, we say equals mod, and the number we want to do is 2, and the number that we're going to divide it by 4 is 4. So when we do this, it's going to give us 2. That is the remainder. Okay, so as you can see, 4 can go into 1 0 times, but there's going to be a 1 left over. 4 can go into 2 0 times, but there's going to be a 2 left over. And as we drag it down here to the bottom, you can see that we can say 4 can go into 3 0 times, but there's going to be a 3 left over. And here we go. 4 can go into 4 1 time, and there's going to be no remainder. Okay, so that's how we use the functions integer and mod. And we're going to focus a little bit more on the modulo function, and we can kind of look at some simple example of when we might want to use this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to decide, we're going to make a quick formula here, decide is this number odd or even. So if it's an odd number and we divide it by 2, there's going to be a remainder of 1. So if the modulo formula shoots out a 1 to us, then we know this is an odd number. If we have an even number and we divide it by 2, the modulo formula is going to give us a 0, so we know it's going to be an even number. So let's write that function there. So we're going to say equals if, okay, the first logical test, we're going to say, well, we have only one. We're going to say modulo, And the number that we want to do is going to be number 1, or here, or A2. And the divisor that we're going to use is a 2. Okay, and we want to see what that equals. So you can write this 2 ways, but you can kind of inverse this how I write it. But I'm going to say if that equals 1, then what I want this cell to show is the text string odd, because if there is a remainder of 1, this is an odd number. If it is false, that means it's not 1, so it's going to be 0 because we're only dividing by 2. And that means this is an even number, so I want to display the text string even. Okay. So when we do that, we get the text odd. Okay, so one more time, we're going to make an if statement. So if the modulo of our number here, and we're going to take that modulo and we're going to use the divisor of 2. And if that comes out as 1, then we're going to spit back odd. If that comes out as false, then we're going to say that it's even. And we close it down, we get even. So we can take this equation and we can bring it down through here. As you can see, all of our odd numbers are labeled odd because the modulo shoots out a number 1 when it does the math, and all of our even numbers are labeled as even. So what we're going to do for practice today, using the same concept that we did with odd or even, we're going to make it a little bit more challenging. I have the years 2016 all the way to the years 2032. So using the modulo function in the cells B2 through B18, try to figure out, are these years going to have Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics, or no Olympics? So if there's a Summer Olympics, the cell in the B column should say summer. If there's a Winter Olympics, the cell in the B column should say winter. And if there's no Olympics, then the cell in the B column should say none. So when you're using that modulo formula, try to say, all right, if it gives me a 0, what should I say? If it gives me a 2, what should I say? And if it gives me neither of those, what should I say? When you finish your practice here, you can come down to the answer key and check to see if your answers are correct. Thank you for using Benjamin Tree today. We hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions or comment, you can post on the YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, or on the blog. Thank you and have a wonderful day.